And now a message from our friends at Fetching Food.
The 1970s and 80s had Elbow, Gravy Train, Purina, Meow Mix, and Bell Bottoms. You've changed your clothes, now change how you feed your pet. Like Bell Bottoms, kick the kibble and join us in the 21st century with the healthiest diet for dogs and cats. Feed naturally, feed raw, feed Fetching Foods.
Ain't from Missouri. That's all I know.
Hello, pups and kittens, and welcome to another fun-filled and informative episode of the Groomer Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Chris Green, and joining us this week from Hemp My Pet is Mark Brannigan. Mark is absolutely the perfect person to talk to when it comes to this. He is so knowledgeable, and I am just looking forward to sitting down with him. But before then, let's get into our fact of the week. According to the AVMA, CBD has been used to treat a variety of ailments in animals. This list includes many symptoms that humans also treat with CBD themselves, such as pain, inflammation, seizures, cancer, and its associated issues, phobias, digestive issues, and anxiety. Other owners have reported treating their animals with CBD products to offer better palliative care. These owners report that their animals' quality of life has vastly improved. They gained weight, energy, and appetite, and most importantly, started wagging their tails and purring again. In one study, 61.8 to the 95% of owners approved CBD laced treats for their health benefits in pets. I use a hemp in Katana's food bowl every night she gets it because her hips and joints were giving her a little bit of issues. She's almost 9 years old, and I don't want to believe that that's a senior, but I do understand that with the Akita breed, they do have a typical wear down, which really upsets me. So I wanted to make sure we gave her the best quality of life. So she does have hemp in her food meals, and it has vastly improved. She now can run again. She's able to do a lot of the things that she did, well, years ago. And with Sumo, she's able to run around with him and play a little bit. And honestly, I am one person who believes in it wholeheartedly. And honestly, it's something that we all really need to look into and trust because the science is there. Well, by that sound, Mark is about to enter the podcast studio. So with that said, welcome Mark Brannigan from Hemp My Pet.
Oh, hello. Hold on a sec. Dad, we have a guest on the podcast.
Wow, the Zach Brannigan?
All right, this week on the podcast, I'm really happy, and I've been excited all day to actually sit down and do this interview with Mark Brannigan. He is with Hemp My Pet. And ironic, we are talking about hemp on 420 when we were actually recording this, which I found that to be kind of ironic and funny at the same time. I don't know why. Thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I just up to the irony. I picked up the irony this morning. I was like, that's really strange. Now, you're going to have to bear with me because I honestly am illiterate when it comes to anything to do with marijuana. I know the science part of the hemp and CBD, so anything outside of that, you can tell me that unicorns make it, and I'd believe you. So that's just full discretion on that one. But I always want to know the beginning of every story starts with the origin story. What's the origin story behind Hemp My Pet?
It really depends on how far you want to go back, I guess. For me, it actually started when I was a teenager, believe it or not. I've been in the cannabis industry for close to 30 years. My kind of gift in the industry is just the ability to grow the plant. I almost kind of feel like as I get older, that the plant kind of chose me. We've had a lot of ups and downs together, but I see kind of my true calling come to fruition through hemp, which is still cannabis. A lot of people get that confused, which allows me and my company the ability to reach out a lot farther than marijuana rules and regulations that kind of confide you to a state. Hemp, allows you to, we reach people internationally, which is really cool, when you think about it, especially, coming from somebody that's been in the cannabis industry for so long, underground to a point, to be able to sell, our product overseas to help people or help their animals is really cool. So there's a long story between that story and Hemp My Pet. But again, it's just been kind of my life coming to fruition and where I'm supposed to be. And, helping people, helping animals, right now really helping animals is the focus, is kind of where I'm at and where we're at.
And, it's funny because I watched a documentary on the whole growing. It was on Netflix. I even forgot the name of it. It might have been Growing or something like that. But, I think to myself, here's something that, I don't know, it's a weird line that I'm totally okay with marijuana, but I'm against cigarettes. And so I don't understand how that, but I look at the organic side, and then I look at how marijuana has so much property in it that can cure so many things and help an ailment. And I think to myself, people have been growing this and had to be quiet and really worry about the law and worry about so much. And here, honestly, you've been doing this 30 years. You pretty much have known this whole time how much of a benefit this plant is. And unfortunately, it has such a bad stigmata because, idiots have, unfortunately, ruined that. So I can't imagine what it must be like for you now as a relief that this is acceptable.
You're absolutely right. And, to that point, I can honestly say that I've seen miracles happen in both people and animals through this plant. And again, to your point, there's so much that this plant can offer. We're only at the tip of the iceberg, and we're lucky enough to have the ability to constantly test with third-party labs what we're doing, and then what we're doing, what we're seeing from what we're doing. And there is just still so much unknown out there about this plant, why it can do what it can do, what properties work together synergistically, because it's about multiple cannabinoids and terpenes that work together to provide the highest medicinal therapeutic benefit. And it's amazing to see. I can honestly say I'm blessed to be able to be in this industry and help people and their animals.
See, I just think I've been such a big supporter of this for the last few years when it all really kind of came out. And I honestly, I know you probably get a lot of naysayers. You probably get a lot of people who, are always going to think that, oh, why would I want to get my dog or cat high? Which, it's like, for starters, if you just do a little research, you'll find out that's not the case. This is actually very good for your dog. I was telling you before we started, my American Akita, she's definitely up there. She's well fed on a raw diet, but she's 9, and she's starting to show those signs of what a typical Akita unfortunately sets in. And I started putting hemp in, and she's able to run around, and it's almost like I had cut 5 years off of her life by just putting hemp in there. I can't only imagine what you go through on a daily basis on the positives and the negatives.
Some of the greatest part of our day are when we can prove, usually the professionals, veterinarians in this industry wrong. Now, Obviously we need veterinarians, and that whole, industry is very important. But when they say one thing, prescribe one thing, or, recommend one thing, and then the customer chooses to do something else, we can't recommend. We're not veterinarians, so we don't ever recommend. We always say, speak to your veterinarian. But a lot of people will choose to go with the holistic route using the hemp extract along with other natural remedies, and the results are amazing. And then when these veterinarians are just like, they're shaking their head like in disbelief. But the ones that can appreciate are the ones that actually will look into it further, whether it's reaching out to us and kind of finding out what we did and why that worked, or doing their own research. Excuse me. But the ones that I do not like are the ones that just kind of turn their nose up, because they're in it for the money, or they're just the type of closed-minded people that aren't open to, hey, I don't know everything, and maybe there is something better for my customer, client's animal that I can recommend or point them in the right direction. So it's just interesting to see. But I love naysayers because they're kind of what keep me going to prove them wrong and to advocate and hopefully teach them about the plan and so forth.
I wish people would just do a little bit more research on this instead of just knocking it down. And that's where I can imagine, even when I reached out to you, you're probably like, oh, I wonder how he's going to be on this. Is he pro, against? And it's like, no, I'm completely for this. And I just think that the fact that you're doing so much science on it is just amazing. And to be able to learn a little bit about this, a little bit more, is even more beneficial. At least I can say for me, I feel like it's a benefit to myself. And I'm sure a lot of people find this to be very interesting. And this gives an opportunity for people to go, maybe there is more to this. Maybe I actually don't know enough about hemp. So hopefully we can change some minds.
You're absolutely right, and I think, kind of based on what you were saying, that people need to educate themselves, on the cannabis plant, on the cannabinoids, CBD being a cannabinoid. And then furthermore, they need to make sure that they research the companies that they're purchasing the product, because unfortunately when you have, a pioneering industry that's kind of wide open, it leads to people exploiting the industry for the money and not providing the quality product that people think that they're getting. Some of the companies are just kind of playing off the hype, and that is going to be bad for industry, which could cause more regulation, which we do need a little more regulation just to kind of weed out the snake oil salesmen and focus on the companies that are doing it correctly.
Agreed.
So
I can definitely see where that would be an issue. Now, here's something that I don't know, and again, I might be like a lot of people, or maybe I'm just ignorant, I don't know. I don't know the difference between hemp and CBD, or is there a difference?
That's a great question, and I get that question a lot. And there's a lot of confusion going on because of just what people are saying is and what they believe and what is in all actuality. And it kind of goes like this. You have the cannabis plant. From the cannabis plant comes hemp and comes marijuana. The only real difference between those two is that 0.3% THC level, which has been imposed on, by the government. Other than that, virtually the plants are identical. Now, through time, the two species, the hemp and the marijuana, have been bred for different purposes. Hemp has mainly been bred for textiles, and marijuana has been bred for high THC recreational smoke. But when you look at the true medicinal hemp companies, their plants, our plants, you can't tell the difference between hemp and marijuana unless you tested it to see the THC levels. Another point of confusion comes when people are talking about hemp oil, hemp extract, and hemp seed oil. Hemp seed oil is what you can buy in the grocery store, rich in omegas, perfectly balanced, natural superfood. That comes from the seed. That has no cannabinoids in it, aka CBD, THC. A lot of companies will use that as their carrier oil, like we do. So people will get confused with hemp oil, hemp seed oil. Now, hemp oil can also refer to, and some people use it in exchange for hemp extract. That's what contains your cannabinoids and your terpenes, aka CBD, THC, that smell and taste that you get from cannabis. That is extracted from the flower of the plant. And that is done through, multiple extraction methods. Everyone's kind of got their own opinions why those are good. But the hemp extract would also be known as CBD oil. Now, the question that customers should be asking is, okay, is that CBD oil just a CBD isolate, which is CBD oil refined down to just one cannabinoid, that CBD? That would be a CBD isolate. That's usually in a white powder. To me, and from what I've seen, that is not as therapeutic as a full spectrum hemp extract. It's more or less you're refining it all the way down and removing all of those properties that work together. So when people are looking at products, they need to look at, what is that, what is that CBD? What's the form of that CBD? Is it full spectrum extract? Is it CBD oil that's been distilled or refined, or is it just a CBD isolate? But again, all of those come from the hemp plant. It's just a question of the quality, and the input is always extremely important when you're looking at a product in the CBD. And then the carrier oils are also important. We use a certified organic hemp seed oil, which is sourced from Canada, but we also make sure that it's seed that was grown in Canada, because as people don't know, a lot of times Canada companies will buy seed from China and then press it in Canada, labeling it Canadian hemp seed oil, but it's not. It's from seed that's grown in China. We also use a certified organic virgin coconut oil, which is extremely beneficial because it's high in essential fatty acids, which seem to bind well with cannabinoid CBD and increase the bioavailability. Other companies will use a fractionated coconut oil, which is still good, an olive oil, which is still good. MCT, which is my least favorite. Again, I'm not one for products that are refined, because a lot of times they're losing their efficacy.
Gotcha. Wow, that is a lot of knowledge, and I mean, I'm following along, going. I was excited to sit down and do this, but I'm just kind of going, wow, this is so interesting and so much to just. I mean, obviously, I can see the 30 years of experience right here, but I'm like, man,
Thank you.
I think that's amazing. I love the fact that there's so much benefits in so many different, ways of dissecting this, and that's what makes this conversation so amazing. What are some benefits of giving hemp or hemp oil to your pets?
Good question, and the easy answer would be, what are not the benefits? That's almost easier. But the reality is, all mammals, dogs, cats, people, have what's called an endocannabinoid system, and those are specifically designed for the uptake of cannabinoids. So our bodies have these systems with these receptors. I don't think they were put there for no reason, right? So clearly our bodies are designed to and need cannabinoids. Now, there are other plants that do contain cannabinoids in smaller amounts and not as medicinal as cannabis. But so, what you see is that, one, obviously, in our opinion, is that all mammals should be ingesting cannabinoids on a daily basis, similar to a multivitamin, fish oil, stuff of that nature. Unfortunately, though, most people are turning to cannabis, whether it's for their dogs or for themselves, because a problem has arisen that they see that they want help with. And so, we see everything from, obviously seizures, cancer, very big one, cancer, arthritis, inflammation, anxiety, behavioral issues. And I would say overall, we see cannabis helps that full spectrum of illnesses and ailments to a degree. A lot of cases, no, not a lot of cases, but some cases, it's for example, with the dogs that are older, they're on palliative care, it's not gonna bring your dog back to life, but it could extend your dog's life a little bit. It's definitely going to extend your dog's quality of life, I think, which is important for us animal lovers. When our dogs are getting older, we know it's that time. Quality of life is important. Almost more than quantity of life, and some might choose. So a lot of palliative care, older dogs that we deal with hips, arthritis, aches and pains. Dogs that are on eating as well, appetite, increases appetite. Everyone laughs, well, the dog has the munchies. Well, I mean, no, but yes. Your dog isn't high, but there's kind of the same concept there. I think it'll relieve any pain, inflammation that might be happening in the intestinal system. Any type of IBD or just anything related to eating, we seem to see a lot of benefit there as well. We've even seen glaucoma, as funny as that is. I mean, there was a case where, this is a true story, a lady was watching her neighbor's dog who had glaucoma, and she chose to give her dog, when she was watching her neighbor's dog, some CBD oil. And the next day, the lady took her dog, and then they went to the vet, I think it's orthopedic, for eyes, ophthalmologist. Yeah. And so they did a test of the glaucoma pressure behind the eye, and it was so low, the doctor thought his machine was broken. And the lady didn't realize that the other lady gave her dog CBD oil. And so, obviously the story came back that, her dog's glaucoma was better, and what could it be? And the other lady said, well, actually, I gave your dog some CBD oil when I was watching it. And from there we learned that, as you always hear people have talked about, I use marijuana for my glaucoma. Well, it works. It definitely reduces the pressure.
I think back to 21 Jump Street. That's one spot, one movie that they used that one in. I think it's funny, but it's accurate. That's the big part here. And when you were mentioning that dogs with no appetite, when you're hurting, when you have aches and pains, do you really want to eat? You have no appetite. So this actually takes that pain away, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I don't have that tightness. I don't have those pains. Yeah, now I have an appetite. So I can completely see that.
Yes, it's true. The majority of the time we do see that. Older dogs with cancer, especially, that just, oh, my dog's not eating anymore. Will help. In some cases, it's as quick as 12 to 24 hours. We always say, give it a few days, obviously, but we see some really fast results sometimes, and it's really amazing. And customers, they're so happy, so excited, because you helped their loved one out. It's the feedback we get, it really helps boost our morale. Like when we're working a lot and 7 days a week, and everyone's getting on everyone's nerves. And when a customer or client gives us a real testimonial, it's like, okay. This is why we're doing this. Just kind of reality check real quick. So it's a good industry to be in.
Well, every industry, every part of the pet industry is going to have your pros and cons, and you're going to have negative everywhere. Everybody's going to be negative when it comes to something that's new. And yes, CBD, hemp, all these things are not all of a sudden brand new, like it's just been invented. But it was never really, you can never talk about it. So now that you can talk about it freely, it's like, it's almost kind of Well, it was taboo. We can't talk about it. And should we be able to? It has to be against the law because marijuana is against the law. It's like, well, that's not entirely true, but I can totally. I can't get behind anybody who has a negative side effect of this, or saying anything negative about the use of hemp oil, CBD. The benefits are there. There's proven science, and you're continuing to actually prove that science, which I really appreciate.
Thank you. Yeah, the one I just want to say the one interesting part on the history of hemp and marijuana is that it was hemp that they wanted to make illegal, and they used marijuana to do that back in the 1930s, I believe, because hemp had so many different uses. As basically back, it was textiles, medicinal back then. That I believe is the DuPont family and one other big paper company family, used reefer madness to make hemp illegal because they were worried about their industry being taken over by hemp.
Sure.
So yeah, it's an interesting history when you look at it. It wasn't marijuana that they were worried about; it was hemp.
Wow.
And we're seeing it kind of happen again today with big pharma and what they're doing, their maneuvers. They're just extremely, obviously, well funded, and they're strategic in how they will get their hands around an industry, being now it's going to be the hemp CBD industry. And just kind of watching what's going to happen. I mean, it's almost like they're coming after hemp, not so much marijuana. So that's just interesting to keep your eyes on as far as how things progress and why. It's never about helping people. It's always about money.
Well, yes, yeah, and being in a state now that it's not right now legal in Missouri, but coming from California, I still have my family there, and they always talk about what it's like there, what how the people are, and I just think to myself, I would still rather somebody smoke marijuana, and again, I can't really say I have any concept on this because. And this is going to seem completely like a lie, but I've never done it. And so I have no real reference here to any of it. But I do know the difference between alcohol and marijuana. And, there is a huge difference. You're not going to see somebody get into a bar fight who took organic, not anything laced, marijuana, and get into a fight. They're going to be completely relaxed, and that's what it will do. Now, alcohol, on the other hand, they're going to become rowdy, and who knows what they're going to become. They can become the Hulk. Who knows? And it's like, I look at it, I shake my head going, people are so against marijuana, more so than they are against the three things that probably drive me the most insane. Alcohol, cigarettes, and pet food. So I'm kind of like, I'm more supporting in this area. Yes, do I think that people should smoke joints or eat edibles and go and drive a car? Of course not. But I say the same thing about people who are going to actually drink and drive. Shouldn't do it. Simple as that. Anything can be dangerous. So it has such a terrible attachment, and people really need to understand it. From like this conversation, it tells it perfect. Well, my next question is, and it's something that a lot of pet parents have as a problem, and that is their dog or cat is on medication for whatever reason. Is it okay to actually give hemp oil to their dog or cat if they're on medication?
So we, always have to defer to people's veterinarians. Just because we're not veterinarians, we're not licensed, and the last thing we would want to happen is to give someone wrong information. That being said, we see a lot of our customers and clients choose to reduce or stop, wean their pets off certain medications, whether it's for seizures, whether it's for pain, whether it's for inflammation. So people do it, but that also being said, we've seen no contraindications of cannabinoids and prescription drugs. But I think it's always wise for people to be cautious. If you choose, one, to ask your veterinarian, two, start off slow. Just see what happens after the first week or so, and just pay attention to your dog. And then three, if you do choose to reduce or stop any pharmaceuticals, make sure that you wean them off, because there's withdrawal side effects that happen when you stop anything abruptly. So again, it's really up to the consumer, and we just recommend to consult and then just be smart.
Good point. Very good point. Now we kind of touched on this a little bit ago, but using your product, using hemp oil, is a good way to actually be used as a preventative. And it kind of one of those things that I would love to hear from you, because you're the expert, is the benefits of doing it before your dog or cat actually starts exhibiting any kind of issues. Explain how that's such a benefit.
No, that's a great point. And, like I was stating before, most of our customers or clients are turning to, CBD, hemp oil, hemp extract, because there's an issue or a problem that has arisen. For us, we're trying to teach people, hey, instead of waiting, where sometimes it's too late, why not, put your dog on a daily supplement? It can be a lot less of a dose and a therapeutic amount, but I think you probably won't see the benefits, because hopefully no issues ever arise, or if they do, they're minimal. So preventative maintenance, I think, is key for people, for animals. Again, it should be taken like, a fish oil, a vitamin and mineral, just to keep the body healthy and balanced. Again, mammals have that endocannabinoid system specifically for the uptake of cannabinoids. It's not there, for no reason. I mean, it's there for a reason. So just add it to the daily diet, and I think you'll have a healthier animal overall, and hopefully you could potentially avoid some serious illnesses or ailments.
Here's something that really has kind of, since we've been talking, has kind of kicked into my brain, and that is, now my biggest pet peeve is, of course, dog food and the terrible ingredients that are in it. But, I think to myself, why doesn't a dog food company make good product and add hemp or a CBD into their dog food? And if you're going to have a kibble-based food, which I'm still not for, think to myself, if you're going to at least make an organic, real food that's good, and it has to be kibble, why can't they just use hemp or CBD?
It's coming. I'm sure it's coming, and unfortunately, it's not coming for the reason that kibble wants to help all these dogs. It would be marketing, advertising ways to increase their bottom line. But what we are seeing are a lot of these smaller companies and medium-sized dog food companies that are really all natural, and they really are organic, and they really care about where they source their ingredients. Starting to add some hemp oil, some CBD oil, specifically, obviously, here in Colorado. So it's coming, and I think the key, though, is just knowing which companies to go with. One that's actually truly has good quality ingredients versus another one which is just adding another ingredient because they can put it on the label and charge a lot more money for it.
Right.
In my opinion.
I'm with you on that. It drives me insane. I mean, we have so many different ingredients that we could be using, and yet we're using slaughterhouse waste. We're using, contaminated wheats and grains. It's so shocking. And yet, if you think back just to the natural state of a dog or cat and how they ate, they didn't need their stuff processed. They just needed to catch it. And yet we're processing and over-processing, and that's what's causing such a decrease in our dogs and cats. And their lifespans are reduced. Their quality of life is completely compromised. It just shocks me. And it's now we're at the point where we're looking at what's an alternative. How do we actually fix this? So it's amazing to see the science, and it's amazing to actually talk to somebody who is right there in the forefront fighting this battle, coming up with an alternative, because honestly, sometimes I wonder if there is alternatives after all, because I hear a lot of people go, well, I still feed kibble, but my dog or cat is obese, has cancer, has this problem, that problem. And I think to myself, in this day and age, why? Why is it like this?
I'm with you. I mean, that's probably a completely another podcast. Capitalism, right? Corporate profit. But again, there are companies that are really all about providing quality, quantity, and consistency. And they just have to, people have to find them, or they just have to, the marketing and advertising and education, transparency. That's one of our biggest, that I feel is what we can offer, is just transparency. So people can feel comfortable about, what they're giving their animal.
And that's.
And so I don't think you see that from a lot of big, large dog food companies. Here, come check out our factory. Here's the ingredients. Here's how we make it, and here's what we're giving you. When you give us your $30 to $50 a month.
And that's what shocks me is there's no transparency, and that's what another thing I commend you, because you're like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. We're in a whole new day and age where we're going to say, here's what we're doing, and we can back it up by take a look. This is it. I can't understand the lack of transparency. I can't understand the lack of knowledge or willing to own such bad behavior. And quantity is really what's out there, but quality is very hard to find. And that's why another reason what we were talking about before we even started recording is I won't do I won't do quantity. I don't care how much you sell in a year. If you don't have quality, I don't want to talk to you. There is no purpose, there's no place for that kind of conversation, because that's what's really clouded the entire industry. And I just don't understand how it's become. I mean, I understand, like you said, capitalism. I can understand that, but it's just so sad.
I completely agree with you.
Now, we talked about it a little bit, but I found one thing that was really interesting that you have, and that is your shipping. Because a lot of people feel, well, I can't buy anything that's hemp, I can't buy anything that's CBD because it's illegal. That's not true. And what I found really interesting is that you're not only selling in the US, but you also have in Canada, and you're able to get it in the UK, which I thought that was cool. So you do it through Amazon UK, and what other options do people have to be able to order?
So you're correct. We are on Amazon UK. We were on Amazon United States, but they are very particular about CBD and hemp, and we don't market or advertise CBD as an ingredient. We refer to it as a full spectrum hemp extract, and that's one of the ways that we have been able to kind of get into other countries. Like from our website, people would order to South Africa, Australia, Canada, Switzerland, France. And so we just kind of talk about it as a full spectrum hemp extract, where sometimes certain countries and even certain states have, CBD is illegal, but hemp and hemp extract and hemp oil is not. So we kind of, I don't want to say hide, but because in my opinion, we're not a CBD product. We're a full spectrum hemp extract product that, yes, does contain CBD, and that's the measure of milligrams on our bottle. But, that's what, so we do. We ship to, 15, 20 different countries.
That is so cool.
And it is. It really is. But, it's interesting watching what's happening with regulations. Certain states and certain countries, starting to make CBD legal. You wonder why. And again, obviously, you know what my opinion is. It's big pharma coming in and trying to stake their piece of the pie. But it's a pretty wide open industry. And I'll tell you one more thing that's actually kind of interesting on the legality of shipping is that for a while, and it's actually still kind of, up to interpretation, imported CBD was more legal than domestically grown CBD. Imported CBD was, because I believe it was the 2004 HIA, Hemp Industry Association, versus the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. And the HIA won, and they were allowed to import hemp oil and hemp extract as what I believe a food additive. So that opened the door for CBD to come in from China, to come in from the Netherlands, Europe, and be sold to all 50 states. Now, domestically grown CBD, is still federally illegal unless you are part of the 2013 federal farm bill, which in that case you have to be tied to a company or university of higher education.
I didn't know that.
And this, again, has a lot of different interpretations. But if you look at the omnibus bill and the language that's in there, it allows for the interstate commerce of hemp to definitely to all hemp states, interstate. And then the question is, to the other states, it's legal. But you do see certain states saying no CBD. You see some stores in some states where they go in and they take the CBD off the shelf. No one gets arrested. But I think what it probably boils down to is just a lack of education on some of these states and some of these counties and city, municipal sheriffs or local sheriffs or police officers. I just, well, what the heck is it? And where does it come from? And is it legal or is it illegal?
Right.
So there's some bills that are coming up, I believe, like right now, I think in Congress, that are getting ready to get voted on, which could potentially legalize hemp, just across the board, no issues, no more is it or isn't it. But then, there's also the conspiracy theory that, that's going to happen, then they're going to deschedule it, and then, if you're not a big pharma company, you can't even be in the industry. So who knows what's going to happen, but for now, shipping to all 50 states, no issues. Most companies, almost all companies are shipping to all 50 states in different countries. So I really haven't seen any issues, so people shouldn't be concerned about it.
I find that it's one of these interesting topics that marijuana is going to be available on the street no matter what, and it's going to be who knows what kind of quality. This is not that situation. This is an organic medical use only. And if somebody wants to go and again, back, in the back alleys, pick up some marijuana, and some way, somehow, if they're smart enough, be able to extract. I don't know if you can or cannot. Again, very illiterate when it comes to any kind of drug, but if they were to do it, you don't know what you're going to get. This is all organic. It's trusted, and I don't know why it's such a frowned upon thing. Why people even frown upon it. I mean, you've given plenty of examples of why it works and the benefits here. It just doesn't make sense that we're still so narrow-minded to it.
Right, and again, my opinion, you just go back in history and you look at, what people have been told time and time again, what they've been led to believe, embedded in their minds. I don't want to even say the word brainwashed, but, when they just repeatedly, you hear no, it's negative, bad, people form their opinion. Everyone says that it's bad and that you shouldn't do it, and it's a gateway drug, or has no medicinal properties, but there's reason behind that. And what we're seeing is that's incorrect. And slowly but surely, I think a lot more people every day are learning more and more. And hopefully they continue to, teach themselves and educate themselves on cannabis as a whole, whether it's the hemp side or the marijuana side, whether it's for them or their animals. Cannabinoids should be a part of everyone's everyday life in one way or another.
And I see how the benefits have happened in California. I mean, let's just look at it dissect it from another angle. Colorado has benefited financially, the state itself, by legalizing marijuana. I don't know if California has really seen that same boost economically by legalizing as much as Colorado did. But then you look at people itself. And again, a lot of things I love to talk about when doing this is something that's good for your dog or cat and you. So it's one of those all arounds. And I look at people who might have had, let's just say, glaucoma or depression or anxiety issues or whatever the case is, and they were able to get a legal prescription to actually have marijuana and the benefits that they've actually received from it. It's just mind-blowing. And it's like we still have people saying, no, this is a gateway drug. Alcohol could be a gateway drug. There's so many different things out there that can be the same thing. Video games are a gateway drug to commit murder, apparently. And yet I've been playing since Nintendo days. And I've never thought about going out there and hurting anybody. But apparently everything that people deem as bad is a gateway to the next thing. And it's like, that's not really an argument. That's just almost kind of a way of just putting it to bed, saying, nope, not going to happen.
Very true. Very true.
Now, I could have thrown in movies in that same thing, but I thought I'd just drop that.
Right.
So the next thing is, of course, I love to talk about products. Now, we kind of talked a little bit about it, and I found it to be very interesting how you have the certified hemp seed oil, and you have it in two versions. You have the 250 milligram and then the 1,000 milligram. And then you have certified coconut oil, which coconut oil is so great. And that's 100 milligram and 500 milligram. You have dog biscuits, 5 milligram and 2 milligram. And then you have the wellness bundle, the large and the small. So kind of take us through each one and just kind of give us an idea of what it is, what goes into it, kind of that whole transparency thing.
Sure. So again, with the mindset and the philosophy of trying to bring people, their animals, the best quality product that we can, it obviously first starts with the ingredients. And we use our CBD extract, our full spectrum hemp extract, is what's called strain specific. And what that basically means is that it always comes from the same strain of hemp. People that know about marijuana know there's different strains. That people talk about Double Kush or OG or whatever the name of the strain may be. That's what is considered strain specific, and that strain specific hemp or marijuana has certain spectrums and ratios of cannabinoids and terpenes that seem to work well together, and there's a reason why people like it so much. But there's a medicinal and therapeutic side to that as well, because it's that makeup of cannabinoids and terpenes that when you find a product that works, that is one of the reasons why it works, is because of that makeup of that strain. So we have a strain-specific product. We grow it. I've been growing it. We've been growing it for 5 years. First, we used it, had products for humans and now pets. And actually, a lot of people, including myself, I take my Hemp My Pet in my shakes or in my coffee, because the reality is we couldn't make a better product for humans if we wanted to. It's all human grade. So that's the CBD portion of the ingredient. Then the carrier oil, we choose which is going to be the highest quality, the most beneficial, And this is where my business partner, Natalie Mundine, comes into. She's, quality assurance, quality control. And when she sources products, she really goes into finding out exactly where it came from, when it was, I don't want to use the word processed, but, obviously hemp seed oil comes from hemp seed. They use a cold press to squeeze it out. And she really looks into it to make sure that, again, that it's coming from where they say it's coming from and not smoke and mirrors. So that's the hemp seed oil. The coconut oil, we've seen the benefits of coconut oil and CBD, since I first got into the hemp side of the cannabis industry. Those essential fatty acids really increase the bioavailability of the cannabinoids and making dramatic difference in the uptake, for people, especially those that need a higher medicinal therapeutic dose. So the quality of the coconut oil, obviously is sourced extremely fresh and from sustainable farms, wherever those farms might be. I believe usually it's the Philippines. And that's important to us as well, where, not only where, but, who we are sourcing our ingredients from. We feel that we have to make a stand on, what our company and what our products are all about. And you have to start from the very beginning of the ingredients and where they come from and who they come from. So those are the coconut oil and the hemp seed oil. All the products have the same CBD extract, CBD oil from the same strain. It's just different carrier oils. Whether what's someone's preference, or in the case of like a wellness bundle, it's good where you have different options of different carrier oils with animals, because hemp seed oil, perfect balance of omegas, superfood, including vitamins and minerals, great for health. And then in the case where, with the coconut oil, maybe the dog or the animal has dry skin, hair issues, digestive issues. And we're coming out with a third product. It's actually an equine product, and it's going to be in certified organic olive oil.
Nice.
It'll have a higher amount of milligrams per bottle. The treats actually are made here locally in Colorado. We don't make the treats; we just provide the oil. I believe it's the Biscuit Bakery, but these ladies actually hand make these treats, and they were slow when we first put them on our website, and now we're sold out, and animals love them. And then it has the coconut oil product in there as well. So I have a rescue pit bull boxer. She's really cute. She's not vicious. But she is hyper and she's very smart. But I'll give her one or two of these 5 milligram treats, and she's just laying there, and like, let's go. She jumps in the car, she sits there. She even put her seatbelt on the other day. I was amazed. But it, really had a benefit on, her anxiety and being hyperactive. It calmed her down. So just, again, different carrier oils. And then what else we try to do is, as we have products with a higher amount of milligrams per unit, it enables us to drop the price per milligram down. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, our 250 milligram and our 1,000 milligram. The 1,000 milligram bottle has 4 times as much CBD as a 250 milligram bottle, but it's only twice as much. So as we are able to increase the milligrams per bottle, we can get people and our customers and clients a better price, and a product that will last longer. So when you look at, what is it costing me per month to keep my animal on CBD oil, the more you buy up front, the more you're going to save over the long run. And I think that's beneficial for us as a company and the consumer who's on a budget.
I completely agree. And it's funny, I have a pit bull too, and I've always been this way. I always say it's not the breed that's a problem. Again, 2 American Akitas as well. It's not the breed. It's the pet parent. It's always down to the pet parent. And that's why I'm like, oh, trust me, pit bulls are absolutely one of the sweetest dogs out there. It's just their unfortunate stigmata that comes with it, that unfortunate bad people have given them because they were raised the wrong way.
Raised and bred the wrong way. No, you're absolutely right. No, I mean, people breed. Will continue. I mean, with the pit bulls, I mean, they'll breed the biggest, meanest animal, and like, well, you're kind of taking that, behavior and breeding it for the wrong way, which is wrong. But again, I completely agree with you. Is the parents? So I don't believe it's the breed's problem.
No, I mean, look over in the UK. I mean, you're very well versed in this. Over there, the Akita is the equivalent to the pit bull, always having attacks. Now, I wouldn't go with the fact that it's bad parenting over there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're just not training them properly. I don't know what the deal is. But again, here's a breed that's unfortunately getting a very bad rap, and I just don't think it's really valid. Like any dog, they need something to do. They need to be trained. It's just like a kid. If I didn't teach my daughter anything, well, she wouldn't know how to read, write, and of course, thank you to the school systems for doing things like that. But all these things, it required training. We all went through it, whether it's school or learning something. So it always drives me nuts. So, as when he said, "I have a pit bull," and he's really sweet. Like, oh, you don't have to start. I love pit bulls.
Okay.
Now, I always like to make this part clear on here, is that you're GMO-free, cruelty-free, gluten-free. I thought this one was really cool because we do have a lot of vegan pet parents, so I thought that was really cool. Third-party tested, which you did allude to a little earlier, organic and human grade, which you also did, but I wanted to kind of throw that out there now. I left one off, and you mentioned strain specific, which I was going to ask you, and then full spectrum extract. I left that one out because I was going to ask you a little bit more on that. But just kind of run us down anything that you wanted to add to that, if there is anything.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up. But again, going back to the quality, going back to the stance of being, vegan, vegetarian, depending on kind of how you look at it. I believe our treats, they might be vegetarian, not vegan, but everything else is pretty much vegan. And, I do eat meat, but the stance of our company, and, it's almost more so because of the meat trade. Animal cruelty. You look at overseas, the dog meat trade. You look at how pigs are treated, how cows are treated, how horses are treated, how dogs are treated, and it's almost like we're just saying, we're not going to be tied to any one of those trades because of the issues and problems in the way that they treat animals. So it's almost not so much that we're just vegan vegetarians, but we just don't agree with the way that those industries are, and we choose not to support them.
I completely agree. I mean, I look at how bad it is with these commercial farms, and I just can't even believe that it's existing still. I mean, with all of these reports that come out, it shocks me. But I do know we do have a lot of vegan pet parents, and that does mean a lot. And of course, even though it's not 100% vegan on the biscuit and it's vegetarian, it's still not bad. Not bad at all. Everything else that matters is. Is there anything that we did not cover during our conversation?
You did a pretty good job of covering everything, actually.
I did try.
You did, and I hope that people get a little piece of knowledge from this, and will go out and educate themselves some more, especially when you're talking about your dog and your loved one. Find a quality product, find a quality company. They're out there. We're not the only one. And usually it's the mom and the pops, and it's the vertically integrated companies that have their own farms. They have their own extraction and processing, and have their own formulations. It's also nice too if you can see the third party tests. Sometimes they're difficult to understand, but for us, if someone has a question, we just, we tell them the answer and tell them how to figure out what is what. But that's important too. Companies need to be transparent, and the good ones usually are. Unfortunately, some of the bad ones pretend to be. And again, it's like, how far do I need to dig to find out if a company is good or not? And again, that's up to the consumer and how concerned they are about the product they're going to give their animal.
Right. Out of curiosity, because I again have no idea, how long does it normally take to actually grow a plant?
From seed or clone, we do both, but the typical life cycle of a plant is probably somewhere around 4 months, give or take, depending if you're indoor, outdoor, or greenhouse, depending if you're from seed or from clone. And I'd say about that. Like, for example, outdoor, we'll plant in June, we'll harvest at the end of September. In greenhouses, we'll harvest every 8 weeks. But we have plants that are in other staging areas. We have our clones, and then our small to mid-size, and then our large size. And so it's kind of a perpetual cycle, both indoor, outdoor, and greenhouse.
I find it to be very interesting.
And they're treated well. These plants are treated well. Their environment, the nutrients they get. Talk about knowing where your nutrients come from. Transparency. I mean, just quality organic nutrients, fish fertilizer sometimes. Just for the nitrogen and the potassium. But they get treated well. Not like the meat industry.
It's kind of funny how we're actually taking more time to make sure we're raising everything, whether it's a plant or an animal, really well, because we don't want to be like commercial farms. I think that's always very comical.
Right. I completely agree.
Well, thank you, Mark, for being on. I really appreciate it. Come back anytime. It has been a pleasure. It's been very educational, and I can honestly say I think I learned a little bit from talking to you.
Good. Well, that makes my day then.
It should.
Happy 420.
You've done great. All right. Well,
happy 420 to those that partake and don't partake. It's 420, and I was happy to do the interview with you today.
It has been great. Well, I'm Chris Green. Have a pet-tastic week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, gotta go. It's my bedtime.